You get it? Because I said I would make videos frequently and then I disappeared off the face of the earth. Oh, that old chestnut. Of course, I did nothing but hurt myself. My chances with the all-seeing algorithmic god that dictates all of our online experiences. Oh well, can't win them all. Let me explain. Aside from playing shows, because oh my goodness, shows are back. It's really, really exciting. And also working at a suit store and teaching music, hence the new duds. I have also been working with a number of different clients, but one is sort of larger in terms of scope of work than the others. They're a stoner rock band called Blue Manic. They're from Boston. Awesome, awesome songs. Very long songs, but, really highly recommend checking them out. You can find their music on Spotify already, but we did 10 songs together and we recorded it all in one room. Really awesome, awesome feel. But I got a text from the mastering guy that they use, who's actually one of my friends from Berkeley, and he was like, dude, this guitar tone is awesome. Like, no surprises. And I'm like, wait a minute. You're a mastering guy. Aren't you supposed to be picky or something? Well, today, let's go over how I got a tone like this. So for those of you who haven't watched my videos before, hello, my name is Jake, welcome. I'm the chief engineer and producer here at Sawmill Recordings, and you already see the title, you already know what it is. We're going to be recording guitars today. Now, there's lots of ways to skin a cat, this is no exception. This is just the method I've been using that's been working really, really well for me on hard rock and heavy metal rhythm tones. When I do other stuff, I may or may not reach for the same things or use the same things in the same way, but the broad strokes are very similar. So let's get into it. First of all, we gather the tools. In the case of Blue Manic, we want to record everything as close to live as possible. We had the drummer, the bassist, and both guitarists all in the same room. The drums were mic'd up as normal, the bass was running a DI through a pedal board, and the guitars were running into a couple of practice amps that were located in improvised ISO booths. The initial tone was, lackluster, to say the least. If I had a couple of Kempers or an Axe-Fx of some kind, I probably would have used it for this sort of application, but I'm showing you that you really don't need an amp like that or even an amp sim like that to get the results that we're talking about here. As it stands, the orange practice amp and the Fender Mustang 3 did just fine. The crucial thing here is that I was taking DIs off the pickups of the guitarist, and for those of you who've seen my reamping video, you guys know where this is going. Ding dong. We were using my Rev Generator 120 and their Orange Rocket both through my Coffee Custom cab. It's a 2x12 with a Vintage 30 and a cream back on it. We then mic'd those up with a Sennheiser MD421 and a SM57, and we ran those into a cheap 2-channel mixing port. Why are we doing all of this? What's the rhyme or reason? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Why use 2 amps? One is dialed in for grind and the other for body or weight. We have these 2 elements of the guitar tone, and I frankly saw it as ludicrous that we'd have to compromise one in order to get something usable. Because the orange is better for body and weight, we used that for that purpose, and we used the Rev for the grind. Now, could I have used a grindier amp? Absolutely I could. I actually have a friend's Marshall Valve State here right now, and I've used that to great effect on sort of more heavy metal inspired tracks, but we're looking less for like acrobatic noodlings and more for 60-ton Mastodon running through, I don't know, some edifice of public institution. You can do even more to differentiate the tones by using 2 different cabinets, but I didn't see that as particularly necessary. We liked the Coffee. We were actually going to use a different cab for both tones on both sides, but we ended up liking the Coffee so much we just used that. So with that in mind, why 2 mics on 2 speakers and why sum them? Well, this is the most sciencey part of the whole thing, so fair warning here. The mics serve to create some positive phase cancellation, which we actually want for once. Basically, the Vintage 30 has a very sort of spitty, fizzy sound, but it has great attack and great presence and great bite. The Creamback has a lot of great body, but doesn't have the best attack or bite. It's got pretty good, but it's nothing on a Vintage 30. We used the microphone that's the tonal opposite of the speaker, placed in a way that best captures the elements of that speaker. Put another way, bright speaker, dark mic, bright position, and then dark speaker, bright mic, dark position. The 57's off axis. It's possibly the darkest tone that you can get. The resulting sound is more malleable in the mix, and it's far more versatile than just the sound of one mic alone. And now, obviously, you want to make sure they're in phase with each other before you sum them, but the cancellation that happens is sort of producing the opposite frequency to the negative ones that you're trying to cancel out. It's a little like the Fredman technique with the two 57s at an angle, but just on two different speakers rather than on the same speaker. The summing process adds a little bit more tone shaping in the form of harmonic saturation. It's running through a different set of electronic components. It adds its own little flavor. It doesn't particularly matter what board you use, but for rock and metal, any cheap PA mixing board in serviceable condition will do the job just fine. It's also better for organizational purposes. This standing, I would have 4 tracks, 2 for this side and 2 for this side. But if I had all the mics broken out in the door, it would be 8, and that's just a lot to look at. So finally, how do you record a tube amp? Well, sing along with me.
First we get the body amp and then connect the cab. Dialing the tone while in the room that you'll be tracking in. Turn off the light and use the torch to put the mics in place as close to the speaker grill as you can possibly get. Then retire back up to the control room and record. Change mic positions if needed, and then we switch the amp. We grab the grindy tone in real time so that we can make sure the tone we get works with itself for us.
Isn't that fun? If you do it right, it should only take about 10 minutes. It sounds like a lot, but it's really not a big undertaking, especially if you know the gear you're working with. So now we know how to do it all. How do we treat it in the mix? Well, both sides get the same performance, both through the orange and the rev. So orange rev, guitarist 1, guitarist 2. But one thing I haven't mentioned so far is the bass guitar. It's 2/3 rhythmic grounding and 1/3 of the guitar tone. So it's really important you dial that in complementarily as well. Dialing in the bass guitar tone is sort of its own animal, and that's a subject for another video entirely. But right now, I want to know, what tips do you guys have for recording big, huge, heavy metal and hard rock rhythm guitar? Leave those in the comments below. Please like and subscribe as well. It really helps me out. I promise there's going to be some more videos coming. And in the meantime, let's get you making music.